Welcome. It's great to see you here. This is the first in our series of Wild Wednesday webinars. I'm Perry Thomas, serving as co-host along with Vivian Bowles. In each of the Wild Wednesday webinars, we'll follow a similar agenda, starting with brief introductions, followed by an overview of the Green School program and one of the 5 investigations. Then we'll shine a spotlight on a school or partner organization, consider resources for support, and review funding sources. To start, I'll turn it over to Vivian.
Well, hello. My name is Vivian Bowles, and we're going to tell a little bit about ourselves, the students that we work with, and then complete this statement. If my students and I toured our school campus, what would we see? I am retired, but I did have 11 green teams that I worked with. So I can tell you a little bit about when teams and I would tour the school. But when we would go out the back, if we go out the back door, and I was just there in July, we would see to our right a big paved area for the pickup circle, winding road. I don't know if you have that at your school. A big open field where kids can play various games at recess and during gym. A recess area that doesn't have a lot of shade. There are some old trees and damaged trees have had to come down. If we go to the side of the building, it's what I call the teaching area, where we have some trees, various trees, diversity of trees that have been planted, and some gardens and benches that are shaped in a square so we can see each other for lesson time. In the front, if we go continue up the side and go to the front of the school, we will see a reclaimed area that second graders were able to save from overuse of Roundup. And the hillside was eroding, but they came up with a plan and were able to save the playground. So let's see, Melinda, I don't know if you would be able to join us and share a little about you, the students you work with, and what you would see on your school campus.
So I am Melinda Cottle from Russell Cave Elementary, and I am currently in the process of renovating our garden area. So we have a U-shaped building. Within that U-shape, we have a kind of a courtyard that we use as a cut through, but also that's how the kids get to recess. So this is my second year in this position. So last year was just kind of a survival year. This year we're renovating, and we have a really nice space. It just needs a lot of love. And so that's kind of where we're at this year.
All right. Ashley?
Yeah, sorry, I'm driving, so my video is off. We on our campus, I'm Ashley Davenport. I'm at Holy Trinity Catholic School, Oval. It's a pre-K through 8 school. I'm returning from a mission trip with 55 boys, so I'm losing my voice. I apologize for that. We have green space. We have 2 playgrounds. We have a field. We have a large parking lot with carpool that holds up to 100 cars at once. We have 900 kids in our building and up to 300 kids at recess at a time. So lots of green space for that outside. There's a walking path that has benches along. It's mostly in the shade. Lots of trees, some reflection gardens along the way. And then it has 4 now benches along the way made from recycled bottle caps. And then our land is completely landlocked by homes that many of our students live in and walk to school. So we face the front road and then property in the back and houses all the way surrounding us.
All right, a neighborhood school. Mike?
Okay, so this is all kind of new, the first year jumping into this. I'm at Stamping Ground Elementary in Scott County, Kentucky. We are a small town school. We have a lot of green area. We do have a walking path. We have benches. We have we have a landscaped front walk like that serves as a bus and parent drop off pickup, which is also has then a what I would call a median type space between that and the staff parking lot or general parking lot. We are 360 degrees green around our school. But that being said, it is our walking paths. I'm trying to pick up on what I heard other people saying. Not real shaded. There are definitely areas we could see some improvement in, I guess, for lack of a better way of going with this, and not really knowing what to expect or where to go to be, 100% clarity.
Right. And Diana, so good to see you. We're just introducing ourselves, the students we work with, and if we took a tour around the school, what would we see?
So
And
my
you're
name
going
is,
to say more about that.
yes, my name is Diana Oliver, and I teach at Hogsett Primary in Danville, Kentucky. So we have approximately 400 students between preschool, kindergarten, first graders. If you were to tour, we have a flatland in the front that has trees, some flowers that they have, or plants that they've planted, and birdhouses. We also have up next to our building, we have a natural playground that has lots of rocks and logs. There is a little bit of plastic on it, like to make a slide and things, but students go out there to play and to have class out there. We also have our regular playground. We have a lot of recycling that we do, and other plants and trees planted around our campus.
All right. And Perry, I'll let you introduce yourself and then head us into an introduction of green schools.
Yes, I'm Perry Thomas, now Program Director with the Kentucky Association for Environmental Education, or KAEE. I'm not currently teaching in a school, but when I taught high school, I was in Arizona, Sedona, Arizona, in a brand new high school. When they built the school, they ran out of funding to do the landscaping. So if you walked the school grounds during our first few years, there was lots of erosion all over the place. And the good news was that there was a small mountain behind us, and we could hike up there and find native vegetation. But I did work with a community member to write a grant to vegetate the campus with native landscaping. So that worked out well in the long run. And now we are going to reshare the screen and get going again. So in every Kentucky Green School, students lead the way to reduce their school community's environmental footprint and create a more sustainable learning environment. The 5 investigation themes are energy, indoor school environment, outdoor school site, waste and recycling, and water. In the school site investigation, we focus in on the school grounds. These objectives listed give you a sense of the whole, keeping in mind that you may modify them to meet your green team's needs. Green teams may observe and record the plant and wildlife species around the school, as well as natural habitats, assess gardening and composting possibilities on the school grounds, investigate the presence, health, value, and benefits of trees, learn how the school grounds are maintained, and if sustainable practices are being used. And they may do all of this in partnership with local organizations. For example, chapters of Wild Ones have helped support green teams in their school site investigations. And I'll put a link to Wild Ones in the chat shortly. Other objectives include assessing the percentage of pervious and impervious areas on the school site. For those of you that might not be familiar with those terms, that means assessing the percentage of the school site that allows water to soak into the ground, the pervious areas, and compare that to the extent of hard surfaces or impervious areas. Determine whether changes to the school site would encourage the use of outdoor spaces for classes, lunchtime, studying, and physical activity. Develop an understanding of how individual and collective student actions can improve the school site. Develop plans for improving the school site and implement one or more school improvement strategies.
But before we begin looking at the investigation sheets, and that's what I want us to do today, and I know you're driving and you won't be able to, but so I'll go over them a little more in detail. If you have your copy of your school site investigation, I'll give you page numbers as we go through, and you can see what page I'm on. And of course, we will have a time to discuss these during our time together. But first, before students can create a project and before we can guide and support a green team, the first thing we need to know is, what does our campus need and how do we know? So the investigations in this guide can help your team identify improvements for your school grounds and give some ideas of how to help local wildlife, the flora, fauna, as well as the school community. Focusing on that word guide, not recipe, but guide. And the results of the investigations will help to inform your team, school staff, students, where they can make improvements and to also generate an action plan. So this gives some structure to the process of developing an action plan. So now we're going to look a little more closely, at the school site investigation. So Perry, I think we can go back right now to the slides and look at each of the 7 investigation spots. And if we have some discussions along the way, we can do that. All right, the first of the investigation guides is just some information gathering about your school and about your team. If you have your guide, I'm on page 19, but that's page 19 in the guide is where you would find this information. And it's just basic. What's your school name? How many students and staff are at the school, and who is going to serve on your leadership team or your green team? It could be you if you are the teacher who's going to or the adult who's going to be the sponsor of the group. You could include other staff members who would be helping you. You may enlist the help of the custodial or ground staff be part of the work. It's great if you have a mix of administration and teaching staff and other staff on there. For the students involved now, when I was doing green teams, sometimes the whole green team may be the whole 4th grade, and there would be 100 students who would be involved in some way in the project. But I would typically there would be some leaders out of the 4th grade population, and I would list maybe 4 or 5 or 6 of those students who would be the team leaders. Sometimes parents are involved. When I did some of the school site investigations, had a very active gardener who, for a couple of years, she was my salvation on the green team. But there may be community partners you would have also. So you just simply list some of the people, their roles or titles on your team. And that can be very fluid. You can add people as you go. Again, these investigation sheets are guide sheets for you, not the recipe that has to be followed completely. The school site map is the second of the investigation sheets. Google Earth, hallelujah for Google Earth. It's a great place to start so your team can get an aerial view of your whole campus. And then students can make a map key. They can mark where different structures or green spaces are on your school map. Again, looking at the next investigation is pervious and impervious areas on that map. They can label the pervious and impervious areas. And a fun way, if you want to go ahead and click Perry to that pervious and impervious areas, something that I would do with elementary students, but also middle students, age students, is to take watering cans or make some watering cans out of kitty litter tubs and a drill, and let students go and investigate how water moves and or how long it stands in a certain place, and then what water moves with it as it goes. And then being able to give an estimation or an actual measurement depending on the age of students and the abilities of students and the goals of the math department. They could actually calculate the area of pervious or impervious areas. Again, fact-finding information. The next investigation is an assessment of outdoor spaces. And we just talked about some of those, taking that school tour, looking for the different kinds of outdoor areas where that may or may not be covered with grass, what they're used for, if there are any wetland areas or woodland areas where that might encourage wildlife, the types of vegetation that are found in the green spaces, native, invasive, shrubs, trees, structures such as benches and bird feeders and tables. So you're just looking, as students can look for what the outdoor spaces are used for. The next investigation is how the grounds are maintained. And again, this is where you would ask the maintenance department to be part of your team. And how are weeds managed? I was telling you about when we took a tour, and the second graders had saved a hillside because we were looking for, actually, when I took the student graders out, I took them to the playground first. We were looking to see how water moves and moves things with it. And I was thinking that the mulch would be moved, but that's in the spring of the year, not the fall of the year when I took students out. So we continued our tour and found the bare spots where an overuse of Roundup had caused all the vegetation to wash away, and the hillside was washing away. And then the tree assessment. Now, because Project Learning Tree is one of our partners, there's a lot of investigation about tree assessment in here. And again, if it's too overwhelming for the age of your students, the development of your students, you can modify it to meet their needs. But looking at tree health, the value of trees, the tree canopy, and the canopy, a map of the canopy that covers your playground. So those are the basic investigations for your that students can conduct to see what your school campus is like. And I want to turn it over to Diana Oliver right now. Diana at Hogsett Elementary was a KAEE School of Excellence in 2002 that primary students did to make some improvements on the campus of your, is it pre-K through 2, grade 2?
Preschool through first.
Preschool through first. All right. And if you'll just say next slide, please, Perry will move you on.
Okay, so I'm Diana Oliver, Hogsett Primary. Like I said, we have around 400 students. You can go to the next slide. We have worked really close with Bluegrass Green Source. Really, even, I didn't put this, but our preschool and kindergarten and first grade all have regular visits from them throughout the year. And they come in, they teach environmental education to our classes. We usually have it about once every couple weeks. Some parts in the year it's a little bit closer because they're doing some hands-on things. Like last year, we even worked with the Department of Ag, and they had like a trailer come and talk to us, and they got to plant seeds and learn some about how that works, and they got to do it themselves. And so they've set us up with a lot of really awesome things, and they try to correlate it to things that we are doing in the classroom. Our reading programs talk a lot about science, so we have it embedded in that. Kindergarten works a lot with trees, and first grade does a lot with birds and their survival. You can do the next slide. So in the spring of 2020, I should say 2020, yeah, 2023, Hogsett families came to a family night, and Bluegrass Green Source had kind of set some things up with them, and Eastern Blue Trail. And we had a small stormwater drain down in the front. We have a large front in front of the school, and it's all grass. And there was a little place of it that was just kind of struggling, and water kind of hung out there a little bit. And we wanted to find a way to really reboot that area and make it more usable for our environment. And so we were able to stabilize the bank, provide some other benefits. We planted plants in there on a family night, and we've talked about, like, our lessons have taken us down there to talk about how it includes food and shelter for different insects and animals during different times of the year. And then the students are able to go down there and watch the plants that they have planted grow over the years. So that was really neat that we could do that. Next slide. So there's are some pictures. That was the whole thing. And then some pictures of students that have planted the plants initially. And then we've gone back and added a few places that needed it over the last couple of years. Next slide. So like I said, the kindergarten studies trees, and they learn, I mean, it's about a 5-month stint of really putting that into our lessons for our reading time and our writing. So they get to do a lot of investigating with that. And Bluegrass Green Source has been done really well with helping us do that. And so in 2022, I believe it was, each class, we have 6 kindergarten classes, and each class got to go down to that flat spot in front of the school, and they spread out, and each class planted their own tree. And then it's still considered like that teacher's tree. So the new classes have gotten to go down and watch as it's grown, and they'll water it, and they'll do whatever they can. They like to talk about it and see how it connects to the different things that they're doing in their classroom. Next slide. That was one of the trees. That was them planting it originally, one of the kindergarten classes, and it's a little bit bigger than that now, but so they've seen it at different parts of the year to kind of correlate and talk to that. Next slide. Our first grade studies birds for about the same amount of time, and they talk about the structure and the function of the bird and how it helps them survive. And so we put up birdhouses. Each class has their own birdhouse. We have 6 of those again. And we go down often to check, especially like in the spring a little bit more. That's when we're talking about them. So we probably go a little more often then. But we go down and check in their birdhouse. It has like the little cover, so like snakes don't get up there. But they check for the nests. It's nice to like see the nest and talk about. You can kind of open it and talk about, what do you see from nature? Like, what do they use? because they're not always nice and pretty like the pictures. So they see the eggs. Sometimes there's birds down there. If there's a bird, we can tell there's a bird in there. We'll try to leave it alone so we don't upset it. But so they get to do that quite often and enjoy it. So there's some pictures of that. We've had several that have had eggs and grown little babies in there. Every once in a while, you got to clean them out. Next picture or next slide. So all these projects were funded by the Kentucky Division of Water. Bluegrass Green Source kind of took the lead in connecting us with them, and then we were able to work with both organizations to make all of these projects happen for our kiddos. And it's been really nice to watch even the different classes over the years really enjoy those. They love going down there and checking all of it out. And then they continue to work with us so that we can hopefully do some more things like that over the years. And next slide. Yeah, they love to do that. We also they like being able to see the birdhouses and really talk about it. The Bluegrass Green Source takes them down there. The classroom teachers take them down there to do that. Next slide. And then we also have the natural playground I spoke about earlier, and our students like to go out there and have time. You can go to the pictures or next. We go out there and do lessons if the weather is nice, or, you know, depending on what our lesson is, they may go get things from the natural playground. We try to incorporate that as much as we can. And then usually if we take them out there, they'll do their lesson really well, and we'll give them a few minutes to play because they love being out there. It's something different than just our normal playground. So they really enjoy that. And that was, the building was renovated in 2019. So that was created then, and it's still in good shape. And there's bushes and plants and trees and stuff around in there. So they get to look at all that.
Vivian, you're muted.
I'm trying. There I go. Sorry about that. Yes, I noticed that, and I was trying to hit the wrong thing to unmute. So that's, you know, I'm very inspired because you're talking about kindergarten and first graders, pre-K and first graders who helped in the process, but of course they could not do the heavy lifting, and it does take community partnerships. And I appreciated that you were talking about community partners. The parents were your partners, as well as Bluegrass Green Source, our good friend Rachel Patton with Bluegrass Green Source. I saw pictures of her, and the Kentucky Division of Water. And we're not in silos, and we do need help, and we can ask for help and find help as it's a true partnership. But I want us to spend some time now talking about some of our thoughts, thinking about our own school campus, the population of our school, folks who might be able to partner with us. And as we're doing our thinking together and doing some sharing, I want us to think about these categories. One is opportunities. What opportunities do you see around your school and in your community to make improvements for your school campus? What barriers might there be in the way of for your green team? What are some possible partnerships that you might be able to reach out to and to form to help your green team with their work? And the last thing is being ready for what surprises you. So as we discuss and think, and as you're brainstorming today, and then after today, I hope you will continue to think about opportunities, barriers, maybe how to overcome those barriers, possible partnerships, and also just being flexible enough. How might we as adults be flexible enough to be ready for surprises? So I want to just throw it out to you now and have you share, some of you share some of your thinking at this point.
I think funding is always a big issue because there's never enough funding for the things you truly, truly need, which I know green space is also something we need, but it's often not prioritized. So like for me, I had to spend my first year in my STEM lab writing grants. And then, so this year I'm actually getting to use some of that funding to start the renovation process. But then also everything is so expensive these days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
that's the biggest hurdle for us.
Right. Those are your barriers for sure.
I can speak from experience of having worked with the Division of Water for the section that gives the grants that Diana was describing, having used to fund some of the work at Hogsett. And one of the challenges we faced was that many communities wanted school grounds to have largely lawn, and native vegetation wasn't necessarily something that people were embracing. And so to make that transition to seeing native vegetation as beautiful seems to be one potential barrier, but also a wonderful way to transition.
Just to share, and just kind of like mind blown situation for me, because I'm kind of think I've got a million ideas, and I know you can't just jump in and have a million ideas. So I guess starting point for me is key, and I know that's maybe even for me, it's establishing my green team. I'm a K through 5, about 420 students, and I hear things and I'm like, well, it might be your whole 4th grade, but I'm thinking, then I hear about kindergartners being involved, and I'm like, okay, so how do I embrace this so the whole school maybe has their part in it? But there has to be a committee of people that, and you want students to be the driving force.
Yes.
Just a lot. I mean, I know I'm just spitting out like random things here, but that's where my mind's at right now. Just kind of all these, I see a lot of positives. I'm just not sure how to pull those all in and find, phase 1 or step 1 in this whole process for me. I'll be quiet now.
No, you're exactly right. And sometimes you're looking at green teams, and sometimes you're looking at starting slowly. I know in my own situation, sometimes I was working with a core team of 6 or 7 students. One project we did, I started with a 1st grade teacher showing me where a student had brought in a monarch butterfly and said, could we get some milkweed for the butterfly? And I said, oh, there's a grant out here. And so I involved a teacher from each grade level. Now that was, way big and took a lot of coordination, but other times it was just the mother who was the gardener and the ecology club of 20 students who were the main driving force. So green teams can change in size, that you don't have to have the same you can have lofty ideas, but think, how can I just chop this off just little pieces at a time and make it more manageable? That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm like I said, it's in my mind. I know we have leadership opportunities for some of our older kids. And you can tell me if I'm way off track here, but I'm thinking about your butterfly example is perfect. Maybe one grade level does butterflies, maybe another grade level is doing trees, maybe another grade level is doing whatever that might be, and K through 5 each has their own niche of what their role in this is. But then that's circumvented by, maybe a teacher from each grade level and maybe some student representation from each grade level. I'm still rolling. My brain is like crazy right now.
Right, you're swirling. That's good. Get that storm swirling up there.
We have a green committee. We've already always had on student council and environmental group that does environmental projects in our school and focuses on things. But we'd like to do a bigger green committee with a regular meeting within inside of student council or separate from student council, and then inviting other friends to learn alongside us. I would really like, I think one of my barriers is teacher support and really getting it. It's an extension of curriculum, and how can I get students involved in more ways than it just being an extracurricular project. And then the administrative support in a private school, be that the president, the priest, and such for the projects, the business manager that has to approve the use of ground space and such. Those are our barriers right now.
Right. Public schools, of course, I don't know how closely you follow the NGSS standards, the science standards. If you have, I always tied the work that we did to the science standards and the reading and writing standards, so that I was able to show the administration and other teachers that it was valuable for students to be engaged in these activities because it was helping their students meet the academic standards. If that helps.
Yes, that's super helpful. I know that those connections can easily be made for like all the projects we do. It's just, sometimes spelling it out to say like, this is what, like, I loved the idea of the kindergarten doing the trees, first grade doing the butterflies, third grade doing flower gardens, that someone else suggested. I like that. There has anyone in the country or in the States, taken the science standards and connected it to a gardening club or a project, or no? I mean, I'm happy to do that myself, but if someone else has done it, I won't reinvent the wheel. Has anyone done that yet or shared it publicly?
On the KAEE website is a link for something called the TREE, and those are resources for teachers. And there are several standards-based units of studies for grades 1 through 5, Perry, I believe. So those have the standards connected to them, and that might be a good starting point. The curriculum that we used for those units of study are the environmental curriculum, Project WET, Project WILD, Project Learning Tree, if you're familiar with those EE curriculum manuals.
I'm not familiar, but thank you so much. That's super helpful. I'll get those for sure. Thank you.
And there are trainings you can sign up for those the curricula also.
And I'll just add that in addition to the resources available on our website through the TREE resource that Vivian mentioned, and I can send that link out after this webinar. In addition to that, the Kentucky Green Schools program is modeled after one developed by Project Learning Tree, and Project Learning Tree has wonderful resources for correlating with academic standards that are consistent with Kentucky's academic standards, and I understand also the Catholic schools across Louisville as well are following similar standards. Is that right, Ashley?
Yes, that's correct. We follow Kentucky standards and national standards as well. Same things.
And Perry, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but I don't have your screen anymore.
Sorry about that. I will reshare.
I see you. There we go. Well, as your mind continues to swirl, do know that all of the investigation guides are in the teacher guide. And Perry, it can now gives, help is on the way, for talking about ways that you can get support, for your projects or for your team.
Yes, and I've just put a link in the chat with the additional grant opportunities that Vivian has put together. We're showing here on the slide the community partners map. The grant opportunities are on our website as well as in the link that I just put in the chat. We have a number of professional development opportunities. Vivian just mentioned the trainings in Project WET, Project WILD, Project Learning Tree. Those are advertised on our calendar. And then, of course, there's the topic information at the end of your teacher guide. Feel free to dive into that and use that as a resource as well.
Right.
And here we have an example of a funding source that I wanted to just share with you. This is one that we have a request for proposals coming out soon, funded by the Inflation Reduction Act and the USDA Forest Service Urban and Community Forestry Program in partnership with KAEE. So the request for proposals is still in draft form today, but as soon as the Forest Service approves it, we will release it. And we'll distribute 10 grants of up to $2,500 each to schools in disadvantaged areas. And I'll put a link in the chat that takes you to the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool, or CJEST, that you can use to determine whether your school is in a disadvantaged area. You just plug your zip code into this tool, and it will show you whether or not your school would be eligible for this grant. The deadline for proposals is November 26th to allow schools to work through the investigation before deciding on action steps that you would want to propose to work on in this with the funding from this grant. Vivian, did you want to say anything else about the funding sources?
Just that some of the grants on the sheet that Perry put in the chat, some of them of the deadlines have closed for this year, but I put some dates for the 2025 school year. But it will also give you the opportunity to say, hey, next year I'm going to get a grant in on time if we want to do an additional project. I know that I have actually received some of those grants. Plus there were some I wish I had known about when we were doing some of our school site or improvement projects. So the Monarch Watch is a really good source if you're interested in getting native plants or knowing what plants to plant for butterflies and other pollinators. So I went through each of those and made some notes for you so that you don't have to open them up and say, dang it, that's already closed or that's old information. So I'm hoping that that information is up to date for September 2024. So we hope that you will use that. And then, but there's more than just funding available for you. The next slide, Perry, takes us to about ensuring success. And those are parts 7 and 8 in the teacher guide. So education, training, and community connections. We can't do it in our silo. We can't do it alone. And this is just a sheet for you as a teacher to say, wait a minute, what kind of professional development might I need or might the folks at our school need? Where can we go for some information about gardening or whatever it is we want to do? And KAEE, of course, is the home site where you can find facilitators who can do Project Learning Tree or Project WET or Project WILD professional development for your team. So the education, training, and community connections, who can I connect with in my community to help me get some more training in this area? I mean, I would go into these projects and say, I am learning right along with the kids about how to do this. Native plants. What are some native plants for Richmond, Kentucky? Because that is where I am. The school site action plan is where you can record the projects that the student team or the green team would like to do. And I want to put a big stop sign at the beginning of that. Because your team needs to make informed decisions. And this is where I did, included educational experiences for students to help them understand the concepts, understand the connections, the cause and effect connections, understand the consequences of the projects they would like to do, but the situation on your school site. And they also need some understanding of the design, engineering and design process. So I strongly encourage you and your team and the teams of teachers to incorporate this into academic standards, the developmental needs of the students who are being involved. And the instruction can be done, teacher-led, it can be community partner-led, like Diana mentioned about Bluegrass Green Source coming and doing the educational programming, finding those good community partners. One year, we had a partnership with the health department and the nutritionist there, and talked when we were going to plant some healthy gardens to provide healthy foods for students in the school. So she led us all throughout the year. And older students, of course, can do some independent study. I know when we were going to plant our gardens, our pollinator gardens, and a group of students that I had were doing some research about native plants, and we found this, a student found the website Gardens with Wings, and it was just, that became our main source for what we should be, the place we should be choosing to plant. So educating students before they make that action plan. Other documents that are in here is an optional Green Your Home, where students can take home a sheet where families can see how their own outdoor spaces stack up. And on page 14 in the manual is a list of green careers if you wanted to do a green career focus associated with outdoor spaces. And then, of course, the last thing that we can provide, and this is it's such an encouragement for green teams. It was for my school, although it took us 7 years to reach it. We have different recognitions for green teams. The Green Schools program has 4 levels of recognition for schools. And you receive a banner with some Velcro flags to be attached to it. But if you complete one project, you get to put up, your green level banner on that to show we have completed one project. And then as you complete other projects for 2 to 4 projects, and again, this could take years to complete, you would reach silver level. When all 5 of the green school projects have been achieved, then you become a gold level school. And then a model school is after you've completed all 5. If you complete at least 1 new project per year, then you keep your model green school status. And it is a big deal because it shows that your school is committed to making your school a healthier place for all the students involved. Other recognition that you can receive, just like Diana's school received the KAEE Excellence Award for school excellence for schools, and then the Kentucky Environmental Education Council can help sponsor your team in their application to be considered in consideration to become a United States Green Ribbon School. So there is information in the teacher's guide about how to apply for these awards. And we are going to get done within our hour, Perry. So I'm going to turn it over to you to finish us up.
All right, thanks, Vivian, and thank you all for participating. Vivian and I have our email addresses up on this slide, and I did send the slide deck out this morning, so you have access to all of this. And we'll be posting the recording after we're done. We wanted to note that we have an upcoming opportunity. First, in the Wild Wednesday series in October, we'll be focused on waste and recycling, and we'll feature a partner organization that's supporting schools in doing audits related to waste. We also have coming up in October a listening session with stipends available for teachers in Kentucky to participate in an hour and a half online listening session about a landscape analysis that was done across the Southeast. We'll be focusing in on results from Kentucky and thinking about where the gaps are in environmental education, getting your feedback, teacher feedback as to where you think the gaps are and whether you agree with the results of a survey we did or not. And so with that, we're going to stop recording. Thanks for those who are watching the recording. And we will take any additional questions offline after the recording.